Everyone knows the basic Dominic Fike story. The SoundCloud buzz, the jail sentence, 3 nights, and the sudden mainstream attention. But if you actually listen to his interviews, watch how he moves between releases, and pay attention to what he doesn't do, you realize his career wasn't shaped by headlines. It was shaped by small decisions, reactions to pressure, and moments where he quietly went against what the industry expected. So these are 10 turning points in Dominic Fike's career that aren't obvious, but explain why his music, audience, and image feel the way they do now. And this isn't a biography, it's about cause and effect. Number 1. 3 Nights becoming bigger than him. 3 Nights didn't just blow him up, it became the song he was immediately boxed into. In interviews after its release, he talked about how quickly expectations formed around him, especially the idea that he was a sunny, beachy, feel-good artist. And that image stuck, even though his demos and unreleased tracks were already way darker and more scattered emotionally. You can hear this tension in later songs where he pushed against that carefree image, leaning into frustration, confusion, and detachment instead. From the beginning, his career wasn't about chasing the next hit. It was about trying not to repeat the same one, and that's a hard place to start. Number 2. The title, Don't Forget About Me demos. The title Don't Forget About Me demos is one of the most quietly telling things he's ever done. He said multiple times that those songs weren't meant to feel polished, they were snapshots, but labeling your introduction as demos tells fans this isn't the final version of me yet. That led people to constantly wait for the real Dominic Fike album, even as they were listening to him. You can see this in fan reactions at the time. People praised the rawness, but immediately talked about how crazy he'd be once he really locked in. That framing followed him for years and made every release feel like a test instead of a moment. Number 3. Fans getting attached to unreleased songs. Dominic's unreleased catalog isn't just popular, it's emotionally important to his fan base. Songs like Acai, She Wants My Money, Why, and early snippets circulated for years, often through live performances, leaks, or short clips. Fans memorized lyrics to these songs that technically didn't even exist. He has even acknowledged in interviews that he's aware fans want those songs, but he's also implied that some of them don't represent where he's at anymore. And that's the turning point. Fans built a version of Dominic Fike that never had to evolve. So when official releases didn't match that energy, people felt like something was missing, even though nothing was taken away. At number 4, we have the What Could Possibly Go Wrong sound shift. What Could Possibly Go Wrong was unintentionally uncomfortable for many fans, like how we saw Anthony Fantano give it a 4 out of 10. But it was uncomfortable not because it missed the mark, but because it refused to aim for one. He has described the album as messy and emotional, reflecting where he was mentally rather than what people wanted from him. The production is harsher, the lyrics more defensive, and the structure was far less radio friendly. Songs like Cancel Me and Double Negative don't chase mass appeal, they sound frustrated and unstable on purpose. This wasn't a failure to evolve, it was a refusal to simplify, a choice that narrowed his audience while strengthening the connections with core fans. And that tension became especially visible with his song Chicken Tenders, which marked one of the first clear splits in his audience. Before it dropped, reactions to his music were almost universally positive, but this time, some listeners praised how personal and reflective it was, while others felt it lacked momentum or excitement. Online, the conversation shifted from enjoyment to intent. Dominic has said he writes music as a form of therapy, processing emotions in real time, and Chicken Tenders fully embraced that mindset. It was the moment his music stopped trying to impress and started trying to explain, and not everybody wanted that. Number 5. Not capitalizing on post-jail momentum. When Dominic came home from jail, the industry was watching very closely. There were features lined up, expectations of quick singles, and clear pressure to capitalize while his story was still on fire. He's acknowledged in interviews that this period was overwhelming and unstable. Instead of flooding releases, he stayed relatively quiet. That decision slowed his mainstream momentum, but it also kept him from being defined purely by a comeback narrative. He didn't turn his personal chaos into a rollout. That restraint changed the pace of his career permanently. Number 6. Euphoria changing his audience. When he first joined Euphoria, his visibility changed almost overnight. Suddenly, people who had never listened to his music before knew his face, his character, and his personality. He's talked about how strange it felt to be recognized more for acting than for music in certain spaces, even at shows. That exposure brought in a different type of fan, some who dug deeper into his catalog, and others who engaged with him more through clips, edits, and online persona than the songs themselves. As a result, the conversation around Dominic shifted, especially online, where his image sometimes overshadowed his actual work. It didn't change his sound, it changed the lens people viewed him through, and not everyone was listening for the same reasons anymore. 7. Live performances becoming the main event. If you've watched Dominic perform live over the last few years, there's a clear shift. His vocals are rougher, the arrangements are looser, and he leans heavily on his band. Songs often sound different than their studio versions, sometimes slower, sometimes louder, sometimes almost improvised. At multiple shows, especially on recent tours, fans have pointed out that tracks like Phone Numbers or Three Nights hit harder live than they ever did on streaming, with some saying the live versions feel more honest than the polished originals. Fans frequently leave shows saying they finally get his music after seeing it performed live. And that tells you something important. His artistry isn't about perfection, it's about presence. Live performance quietly became his strongest asset. Number 8. Choosing silence between drops. Whether you know Dominic from his music, Euphoria, or just because you think he's hot, you probably recognize that he's a genuinely interesting and somewhat mysterious figure. He disappears, deletes posts, avoids long promotional cycles, and rarely explains himself publicly. He's even said that being constantly visible messes with his head, and that stepping back is sometimes the only way he can protect his creativity. In a time when artists are expected to be influencers as much as musicians, that choice stands out. The silence creates frustration, curiosity, and intrigue all at once, forcing fans to sit with the work instead of constant updates. And whether intentional or not, that distance is shaping how people experience his music more than any single release, turning each return into an event rather than just another drop. Dominic Fike's career makes more sense when you stop looking for big moments and start looking at patterns. Patterns of resistance, patterns of restraint, patterns of discomfort. He didn't follow the path that made the most sense. He followed the one that felt the most honest to him, even when it cost momentum. If you stuck around this long, let me know which turning point you think mattered the most, or which one I missed, because with Dominic Fike, the quiet decisions usually tell you everything. I've been tossing and turning without you, I got too much leg room.